Hey everyone, welcome back to the My Inner Struggle podcast. I'm your host, Laura Ferry. This is episode 70. This past weekend, I did something completely out of my comfort zone. I packed a backpack, laced up my boots, and hiked into the woods for a weekend with 3 women I had never met before. It wasn't a curated Instagram moment. It was raw, real, and deeply human. I had no cell service, no control over anything except my attitude and my willingness to be there. It was also one of the most powerful things I've done in years, if not ever. And the person who helped hold it all, the fear, the breakdowns, the breakthroughs, is today's guest. Her name is Audrey Costa, the founder of Deep Rooted Wellness and Creatives. She leads healing, backpacking trips that weave together nature, nervous system regulation, spiritual reconnection, and emotional truth. And she does it all with such grounded, intentional energy that I knew immediately I had to bring her onto the show. In this conversation, Audrey and I talk about what it really means to unplug and meet yourself in the wild, why fear shows up in the most important moments, and how we can use nature as a mirror to come back to who we really are. So if you've ever felt stuck, overwhelmed, or craving something more, this one's for you. So when you're ready, grab a cup of coffee and come get uncomfortable with me. Hey Audrey, I'm so glad that you're here. Do you want to give everyone a little intro on yourself to start?
Okay. Sure. Hey, my name is Audrey Costa. I'm the founder of Deep Rooted Wellness and Creatives. And what I do in a nutshell is provide space out in nature for people to heal and grow.
That's awesome. So I'm going to ask a lot of questions. The first one being, what initially drew you to lead people into nature for healing? What led you to that process?
So as I was healing and growing from all of the trauma and abuse that I suffered throughout my life, I really turned to nature. I went out backpacking by myself and brought a journal and just spent some really difficult time alone in nature. But when I look back, I kind of realized like that is just what I needed. I needed some place to shut my brain off and be in beautiful spaces, but think about hard things. And that is really where I did most of my processing. And as I grew and as I healed, I really felt pulled to be able to offer other people the same thing. And through a lot of ups, downs, and kind of getting all of the educational backing, so to speak, in order to do this work, it sort of led me in this direction. And now I feel like it's a culmination of my life, honestly. I tell people I've been training for this my whole life, sort of thing. So, yeah.
As you said that, and you're going to laugh because I just came out of this experience. I'm
Yes, you
already
did.
like kind of welling up with tears because I have this tremendous experience to share with everyone. And as you said that, and that last day that we were talking, I'm like, I have like 4 million things to say. And each thing that you say, I have like more stuff. So why don't you tell everybody what it is, like you talked about your educational background, what is it that you were seeking and what did you come out with?
So I basically have been in wellness in one space or another my whole entire career. So I taught phys ed and health in public education for 14 years. I spent the next 8 to 10 in corporate fitness and wellness in some capacity. So the physical health, I was really well versed and really well educated in fitness and nutrition and sort of all that kind of stuff. And as I was sort of doing my healing, I was trying to figure out like mind body connection, right? I knew about it, but I didn't really understand it fully. So then I went and got my 200-hour yoga teacher certification. And that was another missing piece to bring to my personal training clients, right? My health coaching clients. But there was still something missing for me. And again, through my healing and through all of my therapy and all of my work, I was really like, I think I'm just missing the education with mental health.
Mm-hmm.
And so first I pursued the certification in peer recovery. And so I did a lot of volunteer hours and I went through that program, but there was still something missing. So through sending myself to a certification for nature-informed therapy, which I was the only non-therapist in the bunch, I realized that that was the missing piece, and that is the piece that would kind of pull it all together for me. So I went back, I got my master's in clinical mental health counseling, and I'm a licensed associate counselor. So I'm still working on that full license, but that was the missing piece. So it's not just body, but it's mind, body, spirit. And that's, I wanted to pull it all together because we all know one affects the other. And I just felt like that was the missing piece for me.
Do you think, all right, so now after you've done that, and of course I'm saying this now, like, I wonder what the next thing will be because as we evolve, right? Because this is your evolution and it's beautiful and you
Yeah.
did a fucking beautiful job. Like I've never experienced anything like it. And I think you have to be at a certain point in your journey in order to like really get everything out of it, because as you know, if we start something and we're not really ready or we're not in that space yet, it's not going to be effective. We can do it and it might make a difference, but if we're not really ready and open to receive everything, it's not going to yield the same results. I do have a question though. So like you started backpacking by yourself. Like, were you always outdoorsy like before all of that? Or was this like your first like dive in? And were you scared? Because I was fucking scared.
So my first backpacking experience was not alone. I think I did 2 group backpacking trips. And yes, before that, I was very outdoorsy, hiked a lot, spent a lot of time outside, but I'd car camped, but never like backpacked. So I actually did my first backpacking trip with a group of women and I loved it. I fell immediately in love with it. However, it was a bigger group. So there were like some of that kind of stuff I didn't really feel comfortable with being a bigger group. But from that, I pretty quickly was just like, I'm just going to go do this on my own, you know?
Awesome.
And
Awesome.
I feel at home out there. I can't explain it.
Well, and I didn't even dive into this, but yesterday, so I wanted to do this while it was still fresh because I had so much thought on that ride back, and it was about almost 3 hours home from where we were, and I wanted to talk about my experience and share that. But why don't you tell a little bit about what it is that you're doing? I've sort of like mentioned it a little bit on social media and it's just more and more details will come out. But why don't you say, if you can, like sum it up because it's really hard to sum up. It's just a beautiful experience and it's hard and it's challenging, but amazing. So take it from there.
All right. So I have a lot of different layers in my business, but my main focus is women's backpacking retreats. And when I started crafting them, I wanted it to be different. I wanted it to be more than just backpacking. So my vision is, yes, we're backpacking. Yes, we're learning all the outdoor skills, but I wanted it to be more of a healing experience. So really infusing the trip with utilizing backpacking. So you're struggling maybe to get up the hill. Like, how do you push past that? So using all of the experiences to gain the healing and growth. And it's transferable. So I wanted to make the physical experience transferable to the mental and emotional gain, if that makes sense. I also wanted to provide activities that you may do in a counseling session, right? Like some discussions that are hard discussions, but you're in this beautiful place. So it makes it a little bit easier and you're connecting with other women that are out for maybe the same reason you are.
Right.
And having those hard conversations. So long story short, I wanted it to be an experience, not a trip. And I wanted it to be a retreat, not just a backpacking, outdoor hiking, backpacking event.
Well, I think you did. Like, I think you married everything beautifully, honestly. And I had said, so we'll recap basically and interrupt me if I'm saying anything wrong or anything like that. But we basically met, it was myself and 3 other women in this particular retreat, which I think is the perfect size. Really? Like maybe 1 or 2 more at most.
Yeah, I cap it at 6.
Like it really needs to be intimate to make an impact. And I went into this, actually I'll backtrack a minute. We had never met before. I saw you on, a mutual networking group that we're a part of. And I think I only saw your post because of algorithms or whatever, because a mutual connection, commented on it. And I'm like, what is this?
What is that?
So then I looked at it and I looked at your website. And in this particular retreat was Healing for Healers, which was really cool because it was people in the same boat as me, basically. We're helping people. And so, as you know, like it's hard. You have to hold space for people, and you need to make sure that you're pouring into your own cup in order to do that too, and developing as a person and growing continually in order to keep helping your clients grow, right? So that was really cool in itself. And I thought about it, and I had just kind of arrived at the point where I'm like, I need to do something different. I need to do something that's going to challenge me and outside the box. And I've, throughout my journey, I've been like one weight, I've been another weight, I've been really active, I've been not. And since my divorce, I really haven't been. And it was kind of a mental thing, right? Like, as I wasn't in that space. But this past, like, since February, I've been walking in the woods and working on that and continue my weight loss journey. And I'm like, I need to have something like a goal. And for me, because I'm very goal oriented, and getting ready for this was way different than training for any half marathon that I've done. I've done 3 of them, and I've done like 15 5Ks, and that's way different. Although those are mentally challenging also, but this was like bigger than that. And not to, like, I don't want to make it sound scary. It was awesome is what it was, because it really made me realize how much I am capable of. And there's certain places I think that we all kind of hold our confidence, right? Like when I'm working and I'm helping a business owner and I can do these things, and I am so friggin' confident, not arrogant, but confident, because I know what I'm doing, and I know it. To step outside the box in something new, that I camped when I was a kid. I camped early in my marriage, but not really after that. And I do love being outside. So I think that kind of is a requirement of somebody that wants to participate, because you are outside, and going through that, but that mental challenge, because when we finally connected, it was that day that we connected, and you're like, well, you said, you're like, well, what are you doing now? And I'm like, walking outside in the woods, so it was like kind of the perfect flow. And I think that it was presented to me in just the perfect moment. And I pushed myself to get ready. Could I have done more? Probably, but I'm really happy like with where I wound up, and just going and showing up and meeting up with 4 people that I'm going to spend 3 days with that I've never met before is its own kind of thing.
Yeah.
But never in that time, from the time that I signed up to when we went, which was maybe a month, 5 weeks or something like that, did I think, what if I don't like them? Or what if it didn't even like factor in, which is not the same as like when you're invited to a barbecue and you're like, what if I don't like, how soon can I get out of here? Never felt that way at all. So in this particular outing, we're about like 3 hours away out in Pennsylvania. Why don't you take me through, or tell everybody about like what that was like, how it worked? We met up, the miles, like all that stuff.
Yeah. So, and even to back up one step further, I do 2 prep calls with the clients, right? So we do one that's like about 4 to 6 weeks out, and we go over backpacking 101, what to expect, what to bring in your bathroom bag, what to bring for food, whatever. And since I have all the gear to rent, we go over like what the gear is, but nothing really, special about that. And then we even go over like some training for the trail, right? Very basic training for the trail, nutrition, that kind of stuff. And then the second prep call is about a week out. And that's really just to go over logistics and any last minute like fears, anxieties, or questions. And then we literally meet at the trailhead. And I open my lovely Subaru back, and I've got all the backpacks ready to roll. And we do an activity right there at the car to kind of set the tone for the weekend.
What was the activity? Because I may have missed it.
So I use inspirational rocks, and I give the clients a chance to kind of pick their rock, and the words on the rock are face down, so they really can't see the words. But I just ask them to pick one that calls to them. Could be shape, could be color, could be whatever. And it's very interesting what the word is and how that plays out all weekend. So that's our kickoff activity, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, and then we go through fitting the backpacks to the clients, because sometimes we need to make adjustments, and then we're ready to roll. We get on the trail.
Yeah. So because this is like my journey, I'm going to just share what happened on the way, right? So
Yes.
I mentioned it probably a month ago. Like one of my fears is like kind of driving far and something happening, and it came true like a month or 5 or 6 weeks ago, maybe before we had spoken for the first time. But man, I was so fucking determined that this was going to happen. I was like, I didn't get this far to only get this far, and got out there. I was about 40 minutes or so from the trail, and my car broke down, and it was like one thing after another, and in the end wound up, from the tow truck driver to the different shops that I went to the Uber driver to the trail, and I showed up and you guys waited for me, and I was so fucking grateful because I was like, I've got two choices. The mechanic basically says, "You're not getting out of here today. We have to get this part." And I'm like texting Audrey, like, this is like, and they're like, "What about an Uber?" So I had two choices. I could either get a hotel room and wait for my car and head back home the next day, or I could get an Uber, have faith in myself, and keep moving. And I got the Uber. Took a few tries because it was still a distance, and met, I believe Chris was the Uber driver's name, and he was super cool, and he believed in my mission, and he got me there. And I was late, but I was so glad that you guys, ladies, waited for me. And I got to your car, and I picked my rock, and my rock was faith. And I have been going over that like endlessly since that time, and that was like really cool. Like, there's a blog post coming out, there's all sorts of things that are like faith over fear.
Amazing.
Really, because it was that much. So we got there, we got started, we got to the first spot and set up camp. And then take us through the weekend. Like, what happens? Like, what kind of activities are you doing with everyone?
So something else I was really intentional about is distinguishing this from a backpacking trip, right? So we are not crushing miles. We're doing a sweet spot. So the sweet spot being enough miles to feel the physical toughness, but not too much so that you don't have any energy left to kind of do the mental and emotional work. First camp was 2 miles in. We set up for the night, and it was perfect because we got a late start. And really, we focus conversation on getting to know each other, right? Maybe some of those initial fears, that kind of stuff. And then the weekend just kind of, I try and be really flexible. I put a lot of intentionality into building curriculum for the weekend to hit some different areas. And so this was healing for healers, right? So a big piece on how to take care of yourself, right? Like looking at your holistic wellness. And we did it through the lens of the medicine wheel, the indigenous medicine wheel, which kind of puts mind, body, spirit all together. But we also left time for flow, which I feel is really, really important. So, for instance, we got up, we got packed, we got breakfast, all that. We got back on the trail, and we took a pit stop at the Haystacks, which is like a rapid section. Pulled out the journals, started talking about some different things that were in there. And I just kind of said, take the time, right? And one of the clients wanted to go swimming, so she went swimming, and she took her journal in the plastic bag, like across the water. Some other ones took some shady spots, but it was just this beautiful area. And I just let it go. I just kind of kept surveying and seeing like when people were wrapping up, when the time was right to move. And we spent a good deal of time there, which was amazing. And then after that, we did the rest of the hiking to our next camp spot. And again, leaving intentional downtime, because I really feel like people don't have downtime. And we're so overscheduled. And so that is one of the intentionalities that I really try and hit home. And in fact, the idea, sort of the loose agenda was, okay, we were going to set up camp, and then we were going to take a 2.5 mile up to Soane's Pond and 2.5 miles back. But with the day and the flow of the day, we kind of rolled into camp a little later than expected. And one of the clients was like, oh, are we going to hike? And I kind of looked at the time and was like, yeah, I don't know if that's the best course of action right now. And there's this line that I dance, right? It's the client's experience, not mine. And I don't want them to be disappointed. But in that moment, I was like, but if we do that, then we're not getting back here till 6. And that's this overscheduling, right? And I didn't want that. And in fact, after we made the decision to not do that extra hiking piece, she actually said to me, that was a good call. Thanks for making that call.
Yeah.
Right?
And she said, because I'm constantly pushing myself.
Exactly.
Yeah. Which is like, it's kind of a fine line because you do want to push yourself a little bit, right? Like
Yes. Yep.
physically, that probably would have been good, right?
Yep.
Had we had more time,
Right.
really.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so my loose agenda was going up to Stone's Pond and doing all the fire stuff up there. Right. So that was sort of like in the back of my head, but then that didn't work. But it worked out, I think, perfectly.
Yeah.
Because then we had a longer time to work through some of the things that we all worked through at the fire and doing the fire ceremony. And I feel like that allowed for the extra time to process because there was some really heavy stuff, right?
There
And
was.
some
Yeah.
really amazing sharing and some really amazing conversation during that.
So how, like, so you've witnessed this a bunch of times, obviously. And I know, like, as a coach, like, I love a good breakthrough. Like, it feels like you're making a difference, right? And if are there always moments of those breakthroughs or the kind of journeys where something shifts? Like when we were wrapping up that last day, I kind of said to everybody, I was like, I really thought I was going to have this epiphany moment, right? And I didn't. But I think that's okay because I think I actually had my epiphany on my way home, actually,
Yeah.
to be honest, really, in driving the 3 hours back home. But obviously everybody's path is different. So what's like a powerful transformation that you've witnessed, like doing this? Like what, like if something stands out to you?
So I think this weekend there was a few moments, particularly with one client who I knew was probably not or hadn't talked about a lot of the things she was bringing. And in fact, she was very hesitant in sharing, like even up until I met her in person. She was quiet on the prep calls, that kind of thing. And then at that fire ceremony, I think her words were, I didn't know we were sharing, but okay. And then once she started, it was like she couldn't stop. And it was just like this rolling of like, and then this, and then this, and then this. And I think for her, she probably hadn't dumped those things in any kind of way, or maybe she did, but she needed to do more of it. And I feel like that was huge for this weekend. I did take a client out last November up to Faro Lake, and it was just me and her. It was a custom retreat. She only wanted to go out by herself. And she was processing through a divorce that was just very like thrown in her lap, like all of a sudden I want to leave sort of thing. And she had a lot of things she needed to process through. And as we were climbing a hill, she started screaming at him. And she got to the top of the hill and she was just like, I'm so much stronger than him. And I was just like,
yeah, that is cool. Like
yeah,
that, yeah,
yeah.
that is so cool to witness. Even this weekend when you mentioned the one individual jumping into the water, like that was cool to witness. Like that, you could just see her soul. Yeah, like
just
yes,
pure joy.
yeah, and just like really letting go.
And honestly, I think for her, she had lost that, right? She had lost the free, flowy spirit that she is. And so for her, that was sort of her thing this weekend. Like that's what she sort of got the taste of that she wanted back.
I know we have a little bit of a time constraint, so we might have to make a second episode, quite honestly, but because we could talk about so many things. If someone is feeling intrigued by this, what would you tell them and where would you tell them to start or point them in a direction? What would you say?
And I'm going to say this, and I hope that I know you feel the same way. Just reach out to me because I am one of those people that I don't want you to just register for something, right? That's not what I'm about at all. I would rather have a conversation with you about your fears, your anxieties, and I'm an open book and I am completely honest, right? Like if I don't feel maybe you're not physically able, then we'll have a conversation about it. And if you really want to do it, we'll get you there. But even if you have fear and anxiety, I say this all the time to women. If you do it and you hate it and you say, I'm never going backpacking again, that's fine. But I guarantee you're going to take something.
Yeah, without a doubt.
I guarantee it. But I would say have the conversation. Like just have a conversation and talk about what are your reservations, because I think we build the stories in our head, right, about all the scary things. And I think if you're open and honest about your fears and anxieties, most times we can get through it.
Right. Yeah. The anticipation is always worse than what
Mm,
it actually is, right?
yeah,
And
yeah.
as I was driving out there, I think I had texted you before the whole car drama. I was already crying. I was already like, it was like a release, like I'm doing this thing that's scary. And
Yeah.
I did it because I wanted to be challenged. I needed to challenge myself with something different. And I think honestly, one of my favorite parts about the entire weekend was not having cell service for like 2 days. So
Yeah.
much so that when we got back to a place where we could have service again, that I was like hesitant to even look at my phone because we're
Mm,
always on and we're
yeah.
always, and you know, and my business, much like yours, it's like all based on social media, you know, so you're
Mm,
constantly pulled in and reeled in and
yeah.
doing things like on your phone or your computer, and just to be able to like put it the fuck down and not like you said it to me. What did you say? You said it's a lot different in the car ride back, right? You said it's a lot different between putting your phone down and not being able to use your
Yeah.
phone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's like totally out of
Yeah.
mind. Like you're not even thinking about it.
And like I offered some one-nighters to start with, and the more I think about it, I don't know if I'm going to offer one-nighters anymore
I don't think you
because,
should. Like it's
well,
not.
and then there's science and research, right? It's called the 3-day effect. So you go out for one night and that's great and all, but you get there, you do the first night thing, and then you wake up, right? And you wake up knowing that you're going home to do all of the things that day.
Right.
And when you're committed to 3 days, you get that release on that Saturday of
Mm-hmm.
the only place I have to be right now is right here. And
Mm-hmm.
you don't get that in a one night. You just don't.
No, because yeah, you are. Because even when I do like a class or something, everybody's always thinking about what they have to
Yep,
do next, right?
exactly. Yep.
Fine, I'll get home at 4 o'clock. I can throw in a load of
Yeah, yeah,
laundry. I
yeah.
can do this and like
Yep.
whatever. And honestly, I got back home and I was just like, one, I was happy because my kids weren't here yet. Not that I didn't miss them
Right,
and
right. Yeah.
love them, but I needed time to like wind down and really absorb what happened over the weekend. And the cool thing is that you put together this beautiful package for us too, right? You had given us some handouts. You go through when we're registering, asking us different questions about like our
Mhm.
spirit animal, things that, you know, we're
Mhm.
attracted to, our favorite colors, things like that. And it says so much about who we are as people. When you gave us these journal prompts, they were sort of customized to
Yeah.
whatever it was that our answers were. And being able to have that, and you gave us a journal so that we can take that home and keep that with us to continue the work, you know, and that's really important, is integrating it back into your
Mhm.
life.
Well, that's the point,
Yeah.
right? The point is, how are you going to use this experience? And I've said it to everybody that has come out with me. It's like, okay, how are you going to use this when you get home? How are you going to use those memories of getting up that hill with that heavy bag when you get home? Or, the processing you did at the fire, what did you throw into the fire? How are you going to transfer that home? The magic, yeah, there's a lot of magic in the weekend, but the magic happens after the weekend.
Yeah. And I texted you. I was like, I want to go back.
I know. I was
And
like,
I
me
don't know
too. Me too.
if everybody else said the same thing, but I'm sitting here at my desk knowing I have this long list of things to do, and I'm like, I can't fucking focus. I just want to go back.
And
I just want
that's
to.
why we had that conversation. Don't, get freaked out when you take the dip after you go home because you dip. It's like, I just did this amazing fucking thing and now I'm back to this normal
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, exactly. So, if you had to, for the people listening who feel stuck, overwhelmed, numb, all of it, and you know what, Audrey, we are going to have to do another episode because there's like a million other things that I want to discuss with you too. So,
Yeah, yeah.
what's one, if somebody's like stuck, they're not able to kind of do this yet or whatever, what's one little micro adventure or practice that they could do to start reconnecting with themselves today?
So I do offer monthly beginner hikes that are only like 3 hours, so no more than
Okay.
3 miles. But it's sort of like you take the weekend we did and just shrink it into a 3 hour window. So it's a
Okay.
little bit of a hike and a little bit of the tools. So we might do journaling or meditation or something like that. So I guess for me, that would sort of be like that would be the first step, right? For me, I would say you need to do something that is going to bring together physical, mental, and emotional, spiritual, like everything together. Physical movement impacts the brain. We know
Hmm.
this. This is science. And so when you do something that is mental or emotional, but you're also tying it to physical, you get a bigger bang for your buck, so to speak. So whether that's walking and doing something, or hiking and doing something, or doing something like a journal prompt and then meditating on it as you walk. Like, you need to bring the physical and mental together.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like the more powerful thing to do, because you tie it together. And we all know the mind body connection is really powerful.
Yeah, it was an amazing experience. And you hold space in such a beautiful way. I don't think I've ever met anybody like you, and I'm like really, really eternally grateful. And it was amazing, and I can't wait for the next time, honestly. And
Thank you.
so why don't you tell everybody where they can find you? Where should they go? Should they look on Instagram, Facebook, your website?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure, all of it. Instagram is Deep Rooted Wellness, at Deep Rooted Wellness. Facebook is Deep Rooted Wellness and Creatives. And the website is deeprootedwellnessandcreatives.com. I know it's really long.
That's okay. Find her on Instagram, click on the link, and then you don't have to worry about typing it in, right?
There you go.
So thank you so much for doing this with me. Awesome. We'll definitely do another one, because I know we have some other things that I want to talk about that would be really interesting and benefit the viewers for sure.
Yeah, so, absolutely.
Thank you very much. And thank you for the experience. That was amazing.
You are welcome. I walked out of there amazed, like always, and then re-energized. That's how I get re-energized for doing this work.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Wow. I'm still holding so much from this conversation with Audrey and from the experience in the woods itself. There's something about being stripped of distractions, comforts, and control that brings you face to face with the parts of yourself you usually try to avoid. And Audrey, she creates a container where you don't just survive that moment, you actually grow through it. So, Audrey, thank you not just for being on this episode, but for walking alongside me and helping me meet myself in such a profound way. I really appreciate it. I'm so grateful for your work and for your presence. Be sure to check out everything that Audrey offers at her Instagram at Deep Rooted Wellness. And if this episode stirred something in you, if you're navigating fear, burnout, disconnection, or just craving real community, that's exactly what we're building through Laura Ferry Growth Co. Whether you're a CEO trying to scale with more heart and less hustle, or simply a woman trying to come home to herself, you can check out the Self-Love Club at lauraferry.com. It's our community for healing, coaching, personal growth. And if you're curious about working with me one-on-one through business coaching or personal coaching, head to lauraferry.com. Explore the ways that we can grow together. Until next time, thank you for being here, for being brave enough to sit in the uncomfortable with me, and for walking this path with me. I'm thinking of you and sending you love, and I will see you soon.